Ladies and gentlemen, friends, dreamers, and doers, thank you for being here today. I stand before you not as someone who has it all figured out, but as someone who has learned, often the hard way, that the future is not something that happens to us. It is something we build, one deliberate choice at a time. Let me take you back to a moment in my own life that changed everything. I was 28 years old, sitting in a cubicle that felt more like a cage. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry insects, and the clock on the wall seemed to move slower every day. I had a steady job, a decent paycheck, health insurance, everything society tells you you're supposed to want. But every morning when my alarm went off, I felt a heaviness in my chest that no amount of coffee could lift. I was comfortable, yes, but I was not alive. One evening, on my commute home, I watched the sun set behind the skyline and realized something terrifying. If I kept going exactly as I was, 10 years from now I would be sitting in the same cubicle, watching the same sunset, feeling the same emptiness, only older. That thought hit me like a wave. It wasn't dramatic. There were no tears, no sudden epiphany music playing in the background. Just a quiet, undeniable truth. This life I was living was not the one I wanted, and if I didn't change something, nothing would ever change. So I made a decision. Not a grand sweeping decision, just one small, bold step. I signed up for a night class in something I had always been curious about, but never dared to pursue. I told no one at first. I was afraid of looking foolish, afraid of failing, afraid of what people would say if I left the safety of what I knew. But I took that step anyway, and that single step, showing up to that first class after a full day of work, exhausted but curious, changed the trajectory of my entire life. That is what I want to talk to you about today, owning your future, one bold step at a time, not through massive leaps that feel impossible, not through waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect plan, but through the quiet courage of choosing to move forward, even when you're not sure where the path leads. We all have dreams. Some of us have buried them so deep we barely remember they exist. Others carry them like fragile glass, afraid to hold them too tightly or too loosely. But dreams are not meant to be buried or cradled forever. They are meant to be lived. And the only way to live them is to take ownership of the time we have been given. Owning your future begins with a mindset shift. It begins with rejecting the lie that your life is something that happens to you. Too many of us live as passengers, waiting for circumstances to improve, waiting for someone to give us permission, waiting for the fear to go away. But the truth is this: no one is coming to save you. No perfect job will fall into your lap. No sudden windfall will solve all your problems. No external force will hand you the life you want on a silver platter. If you want a different future, you have to claim it. You have to decide that you are the author of your story, not just a character in someone else's. That decision is the first bold step. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require a degree or connections or perfect timing. It only requires you to say, quietly but firmly, I am responsible for what happens next. Once you've made that decision, the next step is to get honest with yourself. Brutally honest. What do you really want? Not what your parents want for you. Not what social media tells you you should want. Not what seems realistic or safe. What do you want when no one is watching? What makes your heart beat faster? What would you do if failure wasn't an option? Many of us avoid this question because we're afraid of the answer. We're afraid that if we admit what we truly want, we'll have to do something about it. And doing something about it means risk. It means discomfort. It means the possibility of looking stupid, or letting people down, or losing what little security we have. But here's what I've learned. The pain of staying where you are eventually becomes greater than the pain of change. Comfort is a slow poison. It feels good in the moment, but it kills your potential over time. The longer you stay in a life that doesn't fit you, the harder it becomes to leave. The dreams get quieter, the excuses get louder, and one day you wake up and realize you've become someone you don't recognize. So ask yourself the hard questions. Write them down if you have to. What would you do if you weren't afraid? What legacy do you want to leave? 10 years from now, what will you wish you had started today? Once you have clarity, even if it's just a flicker, it's time for the next bold step. Action. Not perfect action, not massive action, just action. One step that moves you closer to the life you want. When I took that night class, I was terrible at first. I made mistakes. I felt out of place among people who seemed to know so much more than I did, but I kept showing up. And with every class, I got a little better, a little braver, a little more certain that this was the direction I was meant to go. That's how it works. Progress isn't linear, it's messy and slow and full of detours. But every time you choose to take a step forward instead of staying stuck, you reinforce the belief that you are capable. You build evidence that you can be trusted to show up for yourself. Let me tell you about someone I know named Maria. Maria was 42 years old, a single mother of 3, working 2 jobs to keep food on the table. She had always loved writing as a girl, but life got in the way: marriage, kids, bills, survival. Writing became a distant memory. One day, her youngest child started school, and Maria found herself with an hour to herself each morning before work. Instead of scrolling on her phone or cleaning the house, she decided to use that hour to write. Just 1 hour a day. No grand plan, no expectation of publishing anything. Just the simple act of putting words on paper again. That 1 hour became her sacred time. Some days she wrote stories. Some days she journaled about her frustrations and dreams. Some days she only managed a paragraph. But she showed up day after day. 2 years later, she had a completed manuscript. 3 years after that, she published her first book. Today, she's a full-time author, traveling to speak at schools and libraries, inspiring other women who thought it was too late. Maria didn't wait for a big break. She didn't wait until her kids were grown or her finances were perfect. She took one bold step, reclaiming 1 hour a day for something that mattered to her. And that step compounded into a completely different life. This is the magic of small, consistent action. It's not sexy. It's not dramatic, but it is powerful beyond measure. A river doesn't carve a canyon through force alone. It does it through persistence, wearing away stone one droplet at a time. So whatever your dream is, break it down. What is the smallest possible step you can take today? Not tomorrow, not next week when things calm down. Today, if you want to get in shape, don't sign up for a marathon. Go for a 10-minute walk. If you want to start a business, don't quit your job yet. Spend 30 minutes researching your idea. If you want to learn a new skill, watch one tutorial. Read one chapter. Practice for 15 minutes. These steps seem insignificant, but they are everything because they create momentum, and momentum is what carries you through the days when motivation is low and doubt is loud. Of course, there will be obstacles. There always are. Fear will whisper that you're not good enough. Comparison will show you people who are farther along. Setbacks will make you question everything. When I was building my own path, there were many moments I wanted to quit. Moments when the rejection stung so deeply I could barely get out of bed. Moments when the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be felt impossibly wide. But in those moments, I learned to focus on what I could control. The next step, not the outcome, not the timeline, just the next step. I also learned the power of reframing failure. Every successful person you admire has a trail of failures behind them. The difference is they didn't see those failures as proof they should stop. They saw them as proof they were trying. Thomas Edison didn't fail 1,000 times to invent the light bulb. He found 1,000 ways that didn't work, and each one brought him closer to the way that did. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter found a home. Oprah was fired from her first television job and told she was unfit for TV news. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he founded. Failure is not the opposite of success. Quitting is. So when you fall, and you will, get back up, dust yourself off, learn what you can, and take the next step. Another crucial part of owning your future is surrounding yourself with the right people. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with. If you're surrounded by people who complain, make excuses, and settle for mediocrity, that energy will pull you down. If you're surrounded by people who challenge themselves, support growth, and believe in possibility, that energy will lift you up. This doesn't mean abandoning old friends or family, but it does mean being intentional about who you allow to influence your mindset. Seek out mentors. Join communities of people pursuing similar goals. Read books and listen to voices that inspire you to think bigger. One of the best decisions I ever made was finding a group of people who were also taking bold steps in their lives. We met regularly to share wins, struggles, and accountability. Having people who believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself, made all the difference. You also need to protect your energy. Learn to say no to things that drain you and don't move you forward. Learn to set boundaries. Learn that your time and attention are your most valuable resources. As you take these steps, something beautiful happens. You start to trust yourself. You realize that you are capable of more than you thought. You develop resilience. You learn that discomfort is temporary, but regret is permanent. And gradually, the life you want starts to take shape. Not because everything went perfectly, not because you never doubted yourself, but because you kept choosing to move forward, one bold step at a time. Let me share one more story. His name was James. James grew up in a neighborhood where most people didn't go to college. His family struggled financially, and from a young age, he was told to be realistic. Get a job that pays the bills, don't aim too high. James loved science, but he pushed that love aside and took a factory job right out of high school. He was good at it. He moved up quickly. By 30, he had a house, a family, stability. But late at night, when everyone else was asleep, James would read science magazines and watch documentaries. The curiosity never left him. At 45, his factory closed. He was laid off with hundreds of others. For the first time in decades, he had no plan. Instead of panicking and taking the first job offered, James paused. He asked himself what he would do if he weren't afraid. The answer came quickly. Go back to school, study biology, become a teacher. His family thought he was crazy. His friends said it was too late. But James enrolled in community college anyway. He worked part-time jobs to support his family. He studied late into the night after his kids went to bed. It took him 7 years to finish his degree while raising a family and paying bills.